You're listening to the N2K Space Network.
Cyber threats are more sophisticated than ever. Passwords, they're outdated and can be cracked in a minute. Cyber criminals are intercepting SMS codes and bypassing authentication apps. While businesses invest in network security, they often overlook the front door, the login. Yubico believes the future is passwordless. YubiKeys offer unparalleled protection against phishing for individuals, SMBs, and enterprises. They deliver a fast, frictionless experience that users love. Yubico is offering N2K followers a limited buy one, get one offer. Visit yubico.com/N2K to unlock this deal. That's YUBICO. Say no to modern cyber threats. Upgrade your security today.
Today is March 21st, 2025. I'm Maria Varmazes, and this is T-Minus.
T-Minus. 20 seconds to LOS. Egress. Go for deploy. Roger, roll. Live.
Axiom Space to work with Liverpool and Manchester on space-based research, development, and manufacturing.
4.
Leo Labs is working with ST Engineering Geo Insights on space traffic management solutions for the Asia-Pacific region.
3.
Bellatrix Aerospace and Astroscale are aiming to create synergies across both the Indian and Japanese space ecosystems.
2.
Planet Labs have announced financial results for the period ended January 31st, 2025.
1.
SpaceX launched the NROL-57 mission from Vandenberg Space Force Base. And our partners at NASAspaceflight.com will be bringing us the space traffic report after today's intelligence briefing, rounding up the last 7 days of spaceflight from around the world and previewing what's scheduled for the coming week. Happy Friday, everybody. Let's get into our intel briefing, shall we? Last night, SpaceX's Falcon 9 launched the NROL-57 mission from Space Launch Complex 4 East at Vandenberg Space Force Base in California. The National Reconnaissance Office mission launched the 8th batch of satellites to support the NRO's proliferated architecture constellation. The mission also included a number of notable milestones for SpaceX's Falcon 9 rocket program, including a record-fast turnaround time for its booster. The same booster used for this mission was also used to launch SpaceX and Punch, and that launch occurred on March 12th, just 9 days before this one, beating SpaceX's previous record of 13.5 days. It was also SpaceX's 450th Falcon 9 launch to date. The spacecraft carried an unspecified number of satellites that are believed to be Starshield, a government variant of Starlink satellites that are built by SpaceX in partnership with Northrop Grumman. Earth observation company Planet Labs have announced financial results for the period ended January 31st, 2025. The company reported record profits, with fourth quarter revenue increasing 5% year over year to $61.6 million. Their full year revenue increased 11% year over year to $244.4 million. Planet has recently signed a $230 million contract with long-term partner in Japan, JSAT. Will Marshall, Planet's co-founder, chief executive officer, and chairperson, added to the press release that they see a clear path to at least double revenue growth in financial year 2027 compared to 26, supported by the significant increase in our backlog during Q4. Planet also posted an adjusted earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, and amortization of $2.4 million for Q4 for the first time in the company's history. All in all, a very positive outlook for Planet Labs. Over to Asia now, and a few memorandums of understanding have been signed. India's Bellatrix Aerospace has signed an agreement with Japan's Astroscale to create synergies across both the Indian and Japanese space ecosystems. The companies are aiming to collaborate on opportunities in active debris removal, satellite servicing, and sustainable in-orbit mobility. The MOU that the companies signed will facilitate Bellatrix's entry into the Japanese market, while also supporting Astroscale Japan's expansion within India's fast-growing space economy. And Leo Labs has signed an MOU with Singapore-based ST Engineering Geo Insights. The companies are aiming to collaborate on space traffic management solutions for the Asia-Pacific region. Through the MOU, Leo Labs and ST Engineering Geo Insights will explore the potential to establish a Space Situational Awareness, or SSA, center, expand Leo Labs' equatorial radar coverage, and support SSA services across the region. Let's head over to the UK now for our next story. The mayors of Liverpool and Manchester have signed a memorandum of understanding with Axiom Space to establish a framework for collaboration on space-based research, development, and manufacturing. The region's hoping that the agreement will help to position the UK's Northwest as a global center for innovation in microgravity science and space technology. The agreement was brokered by British astronaut and Axiom advisor Tim Peake. Peake has championed the UK's potential in space-based innovation and has supported efforts to connect scientific research and commercial opportunities with UK regions. Under the terms of the MOU, the partnership will focus on space-based communications, AI, and cybersecurity, environmental monitoring and disaster management using satellite technology, microgravity research in biotech, and medicine and in-space manufacturing for advanced materials and new products. And that's the end of today's Intel briefing. Our partners at NSF have the space traffic report coming up, but before then, N2K senior producer Alice Gruth has some of the stories that did not make it into today's top 5. Alice?
Thanks, Maria. We have 3 additional links in the selected reading section of our show notes for you today. They cover stories from Karman Space and Defense, who've completed a successful IPO at the New York Stock Exchange. Redwire has received all regulatory approvals required to complete its previously announced acquisition of Edge Autonomy, and ISci and Juvari are partnering to enhance satellite-driven solutions for disaster response.
And as always, a reminder that those links can be found on our website, space.n2k.com. Hey T-Minus crew, tune in tomorrow for T-Minus Deep Space. It's our show for extended interviews, special editions, and deep dives with some of the most influential professionals in the space industry. And tomorrow we have Andrew Rush, CEO at Starcatcher, talking about developing the first power grid in space. Check it out while you're spring cleaning. Yeah, it's that time of year again. Or avoiding spring cleaning. Yeah, it's that time of year again. Either way, you don't want to miss it.
And now, a brief message from our sponsor, DropZone AI. Is your SOC drowning in alerts, with legitimate threats sitting in queues for hours or even days? The latest SANS SOC survey report reveals alert fatigue and limited automation are SOC teams' greatest barriers. DropZone AI, recognized by Gartner as a cool vendor, directly addresses these challenges through autonomous recursive reasoning investigations, quickly eliminating false positives, enriching context, and enabling analysts to prioritize real incidents faster. Take control of your alerts and investigations with DropZone AI.
Our partners at NSF now have the space traffic report for us.
I'm Alicia Siegel for NSF, and this is your weekly space traffic report for T-Minus Space. This week was another very busy one. Let's begin in New Zealand with the first of 2 Electron launches this week. The first mission, called The Lightning God Reigns, began on March 15th at midnight UTC from Launch Complex 1B at Rocket Lab's own launch site in New Zealand. The mission was carrying the 9th QPS SAR satellite for IQPS into low Earth orbit. The satellite, fitted with a large but lightweight deployable antenna, can perform high-resolution synthetic aperture radar observations of the Earth. From New Zealand, we'll go next to China with a Changzheng 2D rocket. Liftoff took place on March 15th at 4:11 UTC from the South Launch Site 2 at the Jiuquan Satellite Launch Center. The mission was carrying the second SuperView Neo-3 satellite into sun-synchronous orbit. SuperView Neo-3 satellites are Chinese commercial Earth observation satellites observing in the optical side of the spectrum. Along for the ride was also the Tianyang-23 satellite, another small Earth observation satellite in the optical range. A few hours later, we had a Falcon 9 launch from Vandenberg with SpaceX's Transporter 13 mission. Liftoff took place on March 15th at 6:43 UTC from Space Launch Complex 4 East. Falcon 9 was carrying 74 different payloads into sun-synchronous orbit. Transporter 13 is SpaceX's latest launch as part of its small sat rideshare program, the 15th overall and the 13th of the Transporter-type missions. Some of the notable payloads include Varda's third Winnebago spacecraft built by Rocket Lab, which launched just a few weeks after the return of the previous Winnebago 2 spacecraft that launched on the last Transporter mission. There are also multiple Earth observation satellites, including Albedo Space's Clarity 1, a small satellite built to orbit the Earth at very low altitudes to capture images of the ground in high detail. On this mission, there was also an orbital tug from D-Orbit called Ion SCV-017 Marvelous Matthias, which carried several of the payloads flying on this mission that were either hosted on the spacecraft or that will be deployed at a later time. For a full rundown on all payloads on board Transporter 13, NSF's Danny Lentz wrote an in-depth article for our website with an overview. For this mission, SpaceX used booster B1081, which flew for a 13th time. After stage separation, the booster returned back to the launch site at Landing Zone 4 to be reused on a later flight. Just a few hours later, we had another Falcon 9 launch, this time from Florida. Liftoff happened on March 15th at 11:35 UTC, carrying a batch of Starlink V2 Mini and direct-to-cell satellites into low Earth orbit. This launch broke the record for shortest pad turnaround time by SpaceX, going from 2 days, 15 hours, and 53 minutes, down to 2 days, 8 hours, 59 minutes, and 30 seconds, so essentially 30 seconds short of 57 hours. This also marked the third launch by SpaceX in 12.5 hours, a record for the company, having launched the Crew 10 mission, which we covered in last week's Space Traffic, this Starlink launch, and the Transporter 13 mission. For this mission, Falcon 9 carried booster B1078 on its 18th flight, and it successfully landed on SpaceX's drone ship. Just read the instructions. This week, we also had an Angara 1.2 rocket from Russia. The mission took off on March 16th at 10:50 UTC from Site 35-1 at the Plisets Cosmodrome in Russia. The rocket was carrying 3 classified payloads for the Russian Ministry of Defense into low Earth orbit. It's believed, however, that these may be Rodnik military communications satellites based on the orbits in which the spacecraft were dropped off. Heading back over to China, we had a Series 1 rocket taking off on March 17th at 8:07 from Site 95A at the Jiuquan Satellite Launch Center. The mission, called Auld Lang Syne, carried 8 satellites into sun-synchronous orbit. All 8 payloads on board were Earth observation satellites. 6 of them were Yunyao-1 satellites, and the other 2 were the AirSat 6 and 7 spacecraft. And as mentioned before, this was a rare week as we had 2 Electron launches back-to-back from New Zealand. The second of these missions, called High 5, soared high on March 18th at 1:31 UTC from Launch Complex 1A at Rocket Lab's own spaceport. The mission carried the final batch of 5 Kinéis Internet of Things satellites into a sun-synchronous orbit. This launch marked the shortest time between 2 orbital launches of the Electron rocket, thanks in part to the existence of 2 separate launch pads at the same spaceport. Stick around, though, because there's another one coming up next week. You'll see later. This week, we also had a return from space with the Crew 9 mission coming to an end. As is traditional, in order for the crew to return from the International Space Station, the next one has to already be up there. Now, in case you don't remember, last week, SpaceX launched the Crew 10 mission on March 14th at 23:03 UTC. Crew Dragon Endurance, which flew on that mission, docked to the front docking port of the ISS Harmony module on March 16th at 4:04 UTC. On board were NASA astronauts Anne McClain and Nicole Ayers, JAXA astronaut Takuya Onishi, and Roscosmos cosmonaut Kirill Peskov. The 4 crew members will now join the crews of Expedition 72. With Crew 10 at the ISS, NASA and SpaceX prepared for an expedited return of Crew 9, taking advantage of favorable splashdown weather in the days after Crew 10's launch. Crew Dragon Freedom, which flew on the Crew 9 mission, undocked from the zenith port of the Harmony module on March 18th at 5:05 UTC. Following a series of separation burns, Freedom and the crew of Crew 9 orbited the Earth for 15 more hours, waiting for the right alignment of their orbit with the splashdown site. Dragon jettisoned its trunk and started its deorbit burn at around 2111 UTC, pulsing its forward Draco thrusters for about 7.5 minutes. The capsule successfully returned back to Earth, splashing down at 2157 UTC in calm blue waters off the coast of Tallahassee, Florida. The 4 crew members, NASA astronauts Nick Hague, Sonny Williams, and Butch Wilmore, as well as Roscosmos cosmonaut Alexander Gorbanov, exited the spacecraft and departed for Houston, where they were greeted by friends and coworkers. With this mission, Hague adds about 171 days to his total time spent in space, for a total of nearly 374 days of accumulated time. Gorbanov, who was flying for the first time, now gets to log those 171 days as part of his own space career. For Sonny and Butch, their time is even longer as they went up to the station as part of the crew of Boeing Starliner's crew flight test mission. Both astronauts now add about 286 days to their careers, coming in 6th place in the list of astronauts with the longest single mission stays in space. In total, Sonny and Butch have accumulated a total of 608 days and 464 days in space, respectively. With this return, their mission comes to an end. A mission that, albeit had a wrench thrown at it early on, resulting in the crew being incorporated into the next crew rotation mission. Events that we've been covering at NSF for quite a long time. Now that the crew of Crew 10 is on the station, we can look forward to some major upcoming events, including the departure of the NG-21 Cygnus spacecraft next Friday, March 28th. In April, we also have the next Soyuz crew rotation mission, with the Soyuz MS-27 scheduled to launch no earlier than April 8th, followed by the Soyuz MS-26 spacecraft departing no earlier than April 20th. SpaceX is also planning a Dragon cargo resupply mission in April, followed by a private Axiom crew flying to the orbital outpost in late spring. The crew of Crew 10 should remain on station until mid-July, when the Crew 11 mission will launch to the ISS to repeat the cycle on the next crew rotation mission. Believe it or not, there were even more launches. Next, we had another Falcon 9 launch from Florida. Liftoff took place on March 18th at 1957 UTC from Space Launch Complex 40. The mission was carrying a batch of Starlink V2 Mini and direct-to-cell satellites into low Earth orbit. The first stage for this mission, B-1077, was flying for a 19th time, and it successfully landed on SpaceX's drone ship, a shortfall of Gravitas. With the 2 Starlink launches this week, SpaceX has now launched a total of 8,131 Starlink satellites into orbit. 1,003 of them have now re-entered, and 6,470 are in their operational orbit. We had another Falcon 9 near the end of the week from Vandenberg. The rocket was carrying out the NROL 57 mission for the National Reconnaissance Office. The mission was the 8th in support of the NRO's proliferated space architecture constellation, which makes use of SpaceX's Starshield satellites. The number of satellites on this mission is unknown, but it couldn't have been too high as the Falcon 9 booster had enough performance to attempt a return to launch site. Another interesting fact about this booster, B-1088, is that it flew last week in support of the launch for NASA's SphereX and Punch missions. This breaks the record for shortest turnaround time of a Falcon booster at just over 9 days between the 2 missions. Going into next week, NASA's Parker Solar Probe is set to again come close to the Sun, making its 23rd perihelion. This close approach will also be the second since the probe flew by Venus in November, which changed its orbit and brought it the closest ever to our own star. This means that the Parker Solar Probe will once again encounter extremely high temperatures like the ones from the closest approach back on December 24th, so NASA expects to get a lot of data out of this. Next week, we'll also have more Falcon 9 launches, including the launch of the NROL 69 mission for the National Reconnaissance Office from Florida. The 42-minute launch window for this mission is set to open on March 24th at 1742 UTC. The first stage is expected to make a return-to-launch site landing, so expect sonic booms if you're in the area. After having to stand down from an earlier launch attempt due to range conflicts, Firefly will again be trying to launch its 6th Alpha flight next week. The mission, called Message in a Booster, is currently planned to take place during a 69-minute launch window that opens on March 26th at 1337 UTC. As mentioned earlier, Rocket Lab has yet another Electron launch coming up next week. The mission, called Finding Hot Wildfires Near You, is set to take place within a 30-minute launch window that opens on March 26th at 1530 UTC. Next week, we'll also have a Starlink launch from Vandenberg carrying more internet satellites into orbit. The 4-hour launch window for that mission is set to open on March 26th at 2200 UTC. Sometime next week, we're also expecting the launch of ESAR Aerospace's Spectrum rocket from Andoya in Norway. The company has announced that it has launch approval and the rocket is on the pad and ready for launch. According to hazard notices, there may be daily launch attempts from March 20th all the way to March 30th, with a window opening from 11:30 to 14:30 UTC each day. I'm Alicia Siegel for NSF, and that's your weekly space traffic report. Now back to T-Minus Space.
We'll be right back.
Tired of investigation tools that only do one thing at a time? Spending more time juggling contracts with data vendors than actually investigating? Maltego changes that for good. Get one investigation platform, one bill to pay, and all the data you need in one place. It comes with curated data and a full suite of tools to handle any digital investigation. Connect the dots so fast, cybercriminals won't even have time to Google what Maltego is. See the platform in action at maltego.com.
Welcome back. The great thing about Crew 9's splashdown off the Gulf Coast was that it was right around at 6 p.m. East Coast time, meaning it's a perfect viewing time for people to be out of work and gathered around their local watering hole, cheering on the 4 returning crew members. And in the suburb of Boston called Needham, Massachusetts, which is not far from where I live, that's exactly what was happening. It was a packed house at the Common Room restaurant and bar where everyone was there to cheer on the returning hometown hero, Sonny Williams. The walls were decked out with homemade welcome home signs made by local kids, and there was even a life-size cardboard standee of Sonny, like she was right there. There were lots of cheers and applause when the Dragon capsule splashed down, but of course the crowd got extra loud when Sonny came out of the capsule and smiled to the camera. Sonny grew up in Needham and is a graduate of Needham High, class of '83, and while her career has taken her around the country, the world, and many, 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 many times to orbit, she still has a strong connection to the area. There are lots of childhood friends here in Needham that she stays in touch with at the Common Room who are all just thrilled that she's back home. The packed house included a lot of kids too, because yes, space is cool and kids love astronauts, but also because Sonny's hometown elementary school was named after her in 2019. Kiana Brunson, principal at the Sunita L. Williams Elementary School, says Sonny regularly visits the school named after her, and many of the kids there feel a connection to her. She told the Boston Globe, "I even had some of my kindergartners jumping up and down and dancing like, 'She's back, she's back.' Our kids feel so connected to her. Their friend was coming home." Undoubtedly, Sonny's very busy right now, resting, debriefing, and hopefully enjoying fresh air and delicious food after her extra long stay on the ISS. When she eventually makes it back up to Massachusetts, she'll get a true hero's welcome from her hometown community in Needham. That's it for T-Minus for March 21st, 2025, brought to you by N2K Cyberwire. For additional resources from today's report, check out our show notes at space.n2k.com. We'd love to know what you think of this podcast. Your feedback ensures we deliver the insights that keep you a step ahead in the rapidly changing space industry. If you like the show, please share a rating and review in your podcast app. Please also fill out the survey in the show notes or send an email to space@n2k.com. We're privileged that N2K Cyberwire is part of the daily routine of the most influential leaders and operators in the public and private sector, from the Fortune 500 to many of the world's preeminent intelligence and law enforcement agencies. N2K makes it easy for companies to optimize your biggest investment, your people. We make you smarter about your teams while making your teams smarter. Learn how at n2k.com. N2K senior producer is Alice Carruth. Our producer is Liz Stokes. We're mixed by Elliot Peltzman and Trey Hester, with original music by Elliot Peltzman. Our executive producer is Jennifer Iben. Peter Kilby is our publisher, and I am your host, Maria Varmazes. Thank you for listening. I hope you have a wonderful weekend.
T-Minus.
Cyber threats are evolving every second, and staying ahead is more than just a challenge, it's a necessity. That's why we're thrilled to partner with ThreatLocker, the cybersecurity solution trusted by businesses worldwide. ThreatLocker is a full suite of solutions designed to give you total control, stopping unauthorized applications, securing sensitive data, and ensuring your organization runs smoothly and securely. Visit threatlocker.com today to see how a default deny approach can keep your company safe and compliant.